Have you ever felt that as a Muslim woman, there are not enough Islamic programs out there dedicated to just you? Have you ever had questions run through your mind about your role as a Muslim woman, your rights and responsibilities, or just general matters? Just Us Women is a program dedicated to you, the Muslim woman. Islam Life Radio has tailored Just Us Women to meet the needs of our Muslim sisters in order for them to gain authentic knowledge. Our host and teacher for this program, Ummu Maahir Ismaa'eel, will deliver and expand your minds on various topics related to women's fiqh, motivational talks, and how to be among the best women to earn Allah Azza wa Jal's pleasure in this life and the next, insha'Allah. So be sure to join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Just Us Women, brought to you by IslamLifeRadio.com.
Have you ever thought about what it takes to know the ledge? People say, know the ledge. What does that exactly mean? Well, let me see if I can sum it up for you in a short poem. Now is the time to show greatness and uplift. With knowledge and wisdom, we share the ultimate gift. We recognize our Creator who provides and sustains us, who gives our life balance and constantly maintains us. Our broadcast to the people is molded by truth for the men and the women, and especially the youth. We reach out to those from all walks of life, no matter where you come from and no matter the type. Our goal is quite simple, and that's education and unity. With a smile and the salams, we embrace our community. There is no secret to success, just a desire to learn, because the blessings of Allah is what we seek to earn. So lend us an ear and bring an open mind, and be cautious, not careless, and be aware of the times. All it takes is one slip if you're living on life's edge, and unfortunately some fall because they don't know the ledge.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Are you experiencing a difficult situation? Going through stress, anxiety, confusion, or even depression? Perhaps something's troubling you and you don't know who to ask and where. Maybe you've done a sin and you don't know how to deal with it to make everything better and redeem yourself. You might even be wanting to consider marriage and have someone in mind, but don't know how to take the matter forward in a halal way. Are you looking for advice and guidance, which is also Islamically sound and authentic? If so, then your prayers have been answered. Islam Life Radio is now offering a free, confidential, anonymous, impartial, and non-judgmental counseling service based on the Quran and authentic Sunnah. Email us now at counseling@islamliferadio.com.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى صحبه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum, dear sisters. Welcome to part 17 of this series of Fataawaa al-Mur'ah. And in this program this evening, we are now actually coming to the end of the book, MashaAllah, Tabarakallah, Fataawaa al-Mur'ah, one more time. And this, and after this segment, we have actually one more segment to go, and we have completed the entire book of Fataawaa regarding women. Alhamdulillah, wa bi'idhnillah, we will complete it successfully. Tonight we begin with a question that was posed to Sheikh bin Baz regarding women working alongside of men, women working in the workplace with men. The question that was posed to the Sheikh is, what is Islam's view of women working along with men? And the Sheikh responded by saying, it is known that when women go to work in the workplaces of men, this leads to mixing with men and being in private with them. And this is a very dangerous matter that has dangerous consequences and negative results. It is in clear opposition to the text of the Sharia that ordered the women to remain in their houses and to fulfill the type of work that is particular for her and upon which Allah has fashioned her nature, which is far from the place where she will mix with men. The Sheikh went on to say, the clear authentic evidences that indicate that it is forbidden for men and non-related women to be in private together, for men to look at women are numerous. Again, for men to look at women are numerous. There are also a lot of evidence that what leads up to those forbidden ends are also forbidden. The evidences are many, clear and decisive that The mixing between the sexes is forbidden as it leads to negative and blameworthy results. Among those evidences are the following. So the Shaykh presents from Surah Al-Ahzab, verse 33. Stay, as it is interpreted into the English, stay in your houses and do not display yourselves like that of the times of ignorance, and offer prayer perfectly and give zakat and obey Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah only wishes to remove evil deeds and sins from you, or members of the family of the Prophet, and to purify you with a thorough purification. Also, he followed up with verse 59, as it is interpreted, O Prophet, tell your wives and your daughters and the women of the believers to draw their cloaks, meaning their veils, all over their bodies. That would be better that they should be known as free, respectable women, so as not to be annoyed. And Allah is all forgiving and most merciful. And also he presented from Surah An-Nur, verse 31, as it is interpreted, tell the believing women to lower their gaze and protect their private parts, and do not show off their adornments except only that which is apparent, and to draw their veils all over their necks and the bosoms, and not to reveal their adornments except to their husbands, their fathers, their husbands' fathers, their sons, their husbands' sons, their brothers or their brothers' sons, or their sisters' sons, or their women, or the female slaves, or old male servants who lack vigor, or small children who have no sense of shame of sex. And let them not stamp their feet so as to reveal what they hide of their adornment, and beg Allah to forgive you all, O believers, that you may be successful. And then also from Surah Al-Ahzab, verse 53 this time, as it is interpreted, and when you ask them from behind a screen that is pure for your hearts and for their hearts. And then he brought a statement from the Prophet alayhi salam. He said, the Prophet alayhi salam himself said, beware of entering upon women, the women who are non-mahram. They said, O Messenger of Allah, what do you say about the in-laws? And he said, the in-laws are death. The in-laws are death. And then the Messenger of Allah alayhi salam categorically prohibited privacy between a man and a non-related woman when he said, Shaitan is the third of them. Shaitan is the third of them. He also prohibited traveling except in the presence of mahram males, in order to close the door to the roads that lead to evil and sins, and to protect the two parties from the plotting of Shaitan. That is why it is confirmed from him that he said, as it is interpreted or translated in this case, be wary and cautious of this world, be wary and cautious of women. Verily the first trial that afflicted the tribes of Israel was with respect to women. And in other hadith it is found, I have not left behind me any temptation more harmful for men than women. So the Shaykh went on to say, these clear verses and ahadith indicate that it is obligatory to avoid the mixing of the sexes that leads to evil and lewdness and the destruction of societies. When we look at the plight of women in some of the Muslim countries, we see that she has become a disrespected working servant because of her leaving her house and taking roles that are not her responsibility. The wise people in those lands, in the lands of the West, are calling for the return of the woman to her natural roles that Allah has prepared for her, for, and for which her body and mind are more attuned to. But this call is coming too late. There are enough jobs for women in their houses, in teaching positions, and other places related to women that make it necessary for her to take on jobs in the workplace of men. He said, we ask Allah to protect our land and the lands of all Muslims from the plots and the plots of their enemies. And may Allah guide those in charge of the rest of the media to lead people to what is best for them in both this life and the hereafter. May Allah guide them to executing the commands of the Rabb and the Creator, who is most knowledgeable of what is in their best interest. May Allah bless and guide the leaders of the lands of the Muslims to what is best for the Muslims and the country with respect to their livelihood here and their resurrection. May Allah save us and them, all the Muslims, from the misguidance and temptation and the causes of destruction. He is the one with the power and the ability to do so. So again, this was answered by Sheikh bin Baz. And we women living in the West, we understand that many times we are actually forced to work out in the workforce, but we really should be doing our best to try to find occupations where we are surrounded by women. And even if we find ourselves having to work out there and having to work in a mixed environment, our goal should be to get out of that environment as soon as possible. We shouldn't become comfortable working side by side with men. It is a very dangerous situation because, you know, when you're working side by side with men, people get comfortable. And it is very well known that most extramarital affairs or adultery relationships happen from the workplace. It starts at the workplace or in a school environment where the two sexes are side by side on a daily basis until this development grows. Now in the workplace, you know, women are going to work and they're upset with their husbands and things are going on at home, and they find themselves confiding in men, and before you know it, one thing has led to the other. First he was a shoulder to lean on, and then before you know it, these people ended up somewhere in a bed somewhere, in a motel or whatever. And this happens even with Muslim women. This has come to me from Muslim women. So we're not safe. I've had Muslim women confess that it wasn't their intention, but they fell in love with some person at work. And even, I mean, an adulterous affair is bad enough, for surely it is capital punishment. In Islam, an adulterous affair is punishable by death. If, of course, you have 4 sets of eyes that are witnessing the act as it is happening, or if the woman turns up pregnant, so then naturally that evidence is against her. And when I say that, she doesn't have to be married in a married relationship at that moment, but if she's ever been married, then of course if she turns up pregnant and she's not married at the time, then this is still capital punishment because she's been married before. So we want to protect ourselves from this. We could have the best intention, and again, we have to work a lot of times, especially as women in the West. We've been groomed to go out into the workforce. As the Sheikh said, that women become no more than servants. Her role as a wife and mother is playing down because she's wanted into the workforce. Why? Because she gets paid less money than a man. She gets paid less than him, and then she's in the jobs, and then the men can't find a job because she's in the job being paid less than him. So it sets up a very dangerous situation all the way around. So we want to just think about that, sisters, and please take precaution. If you happen to be in a situation where you're forced to work, and you're forced to work in an environment where there are men, it should still be your objective to secure yourself a job as quickly as possible where there are only women working. So if you have to go back to school and get more training, then you go back to school and get more training. Naturally, if the opportunity comes up if you're not married and the opportunity comes up for marriage and this man's actually going to provide for you, then get married first and foremost. But if you are forced into the workforce, you have no other choice but to be there, and you have no other choice but be in a position where you're working side by side with men. One more time, the objective should be to get out of there as quickly as possible because it's dangerous. No one should become complacent and comfortable working side by side with men. Now we turn to a question now regarding a woman remaining with her alcoholic husband, and excuse me, Sheikh bin Baz has been asked here. I have 3 sons and a daughter. My husband, may Allah protect us, is an alcoholic. He's been in prison in the past. He's addicted to alcohol and has injured me and my children. I have been divorced from him and I'm currently with my family. He does not spend anything on us and I do not have any desire to return to him. However, he has threatened to take my children and that would be something I could not bear. After all, I am first and foremost a mother. Please help. Sheikh bin Baz rahimahullah has responded to our sister by saying this is something that definitely needs to be taken up in the courts of law. One should not remain with an alcoholic as he harms his wife and his children. So he said one should not remain with an alcoholic as he harms his wife and his children. One should remain away from him unless Allah guides him and he returns to what is correct. If the judge separates the two, usually the children are given over to the mother as she is most qualified for them while he is not qualified. As long as he has the problem of being an alcoholic, he is not suited to bring up his children as he will destroy and ruin them. Again, as he said, he is not suited to bring up his children as he will destroy and ruin them. Therefore, he said, she has more right to her children than him, even if they be boys. Even if they be boys. This is what is usually done by the judges, and this is what is obligatory. The children must be with her because she is better than him, and he is an evildoer. If she refuses to go back to him, she has done well, as such a living condition is harmful and dangerous for her. If he also does not pray, then it is obligatory not to return to him, for the one who abandons the prayer is a disbeliever, and protection is sought from Allah. So again, he says, the one who abandons the prayer is a kafir. A kafir. This is what the Shaykh has said. No mincing of words here. And then he brings the evidence. He said that the Prophet ﷺ said that the covenant between us and them, the ahd of between us and them, is the prayer. Whoever abandons it has committed disbelief, he says. He said, Man tarakaha faqad kafar. Whoever has abandoned it has committed disbelief. Then the Shaykh went on to say, it is not obligatory to remain with the one who does not pray. And they brought the evidence from Al-Mumtahina, verse 10, as it is interpreted, they are not lawful wives for the disbelievers, nor are the disbelievers lawful husbands for them. They are not lawful wives for the kafir, nor are the kuffar lawful husbands for them. And this is it, straight up. The Shaykh goes on to say, that is until Allah guides them and they repent. The woman should go to her family or stay with her children and not let her husband come to them until he repents to Allah and returns to what is right. He says, if he prays but drinks alcohol, then that is a great sin and a great crime. However, he is not a disbeliever but an evildoer. The woman has the right to prevent him from her and to leave him. She is excused for that act. If she remains patient and has the ability to be patient, there is no harm in that option either. So this was answered by Sheikh bin Baz. He said that the alcoholic is an evildoer and he is actually encouraging the woman that perhaps it's better for her to leave him for the protection of herself and her children if he is causing them harm. And he also says that he is warning the children by him being an alcoholic. As long as he has the problem of being an alcoholic, he said, he is not suited to bring up his children as he will destroy and ruin them. Now let's put ourselves here in the West where we are. We know that there are a lot of men who are addicted to mukhadarat, drugs, be it heroin, be it crack, be it pills. Because a lot of times we minimize the addiction to these pills that people are taking nowadays. They are still narcotics. They are still controlled substances that are controlled by the government and who gets their hands on them. That makes it a controlled substance. So we want to be careful about being in a marriage with such an individual. Don't put yourself in a marriage with a man that you know that's getting high. You already know he's getting high. Why would you marry the individual thinking he's going to change for you? And then let me speak to my sisters that are in the Middle East whose men are addicted to this ghat or khat. They're chewing this stuff on the side of their mouths. This is a controlled substance. And in America, it is a controlled substance. So, not so sure about what's going on over in the Middle East. I do know that the Shi'u has spoken out against it. That it is a controlled substance that is harmful for people to indulge in. It is still substance abuse. So whether it is alcohol, heroin, crack, pills of any kind, marijuana, or even this ghat that they're chewing on it and getting a buzz from it, it's all the same thing. So if it's this kind of intoxicant, sisters, beware and take your precautions. As a sheikh has said that he is at least an evildoer, and if he stopped praying altogether, which happens very often, because an addict or an alcoholic is so busy trying to get high, they don't have time to offer the salah. And therefore, sisters, you're talking about you've actually tied yourself now to someone who's not praying. So if he's not praying, you're not lawful to him, and he's not lawful to you. We ask Allah to guide us all and to keep us upon that which pleases Him. Ameen. We now look at the ruling concerning deviant magazines and the production of them, or working for the people who produce them and distribute them, and even buying them. So then, this question was also posed to Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah. And then the question was, what is the ruling concerning producing magazines that display women uncovered and in seductive manners? What about magazines that are concerned only with the news about actors and actresses? What is the ruling concerning those who work for such magazines, who distribute them, and who buy them? So Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah, responded to the sister by saying, it is not allowed to produce or support magazines that are comprised of distributing pictures of women, or encouraging people to fornication, lewdness, homosexuality, drinking alcohol, or any other type of wrong act. He said it is not allowed to work for such magazines, either by writing for it or distributing it. This would be a type of helping one another in sin and transgression, as well as spreading evil on earth and calling others to ruin society and spread depravity. And he said Allah has stated in His clear book, and this is coming from Surah Al-Ma'idah, Ayah 2, He says, help you, in the interpretation, help you one another in righteousness and piety, but do not help one another in sin and transgression, and fear Allah. Verily Allah is severe in punishment. He said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also said, whoever calls the guidance shall receive the same reward as the one who follows that guidance, without the reward of either of them being lessened. And whoever calls to misguidance shall bear the sin as well as the sin of one who follows his call, without the burden of either of them being lessened. And the Prophet stated in another hadith, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there are two groups of people from the inhabitants of hell that I have not yet seen. Men having flogs like oxen tails with them, and they would be beating people, and women who would be dressed but naked. Their heads would be like the humps of the bukht, camel, inclined to one side. They will not enter paradise, and they will not smell its odor, although its odor can be smelled from a such and such a distance. And this hadith was recorded also in Sahih Muslim. So the Shaykh concluded by saying, the verses in hadith with this meaning are many. We ask Allah to bless and guide Muslims to what is best for them and their salvation. We ask them to guide those in charge of the media in all of its forms of what is best for society. We also ask Allah to protect them from the evils of their own souls and from the plots of the shaitan. He is generous and most noble. Okay, so just a quick comment, and the next question is similar to this one, but I do want to comment on the fact that this is actually asking about helping to produce these deviant magazines, a person who's working in that media. Now, let's look at social media. We have Instagram, and we have Facebook, and then there's Snapchat or something. Okay, so a lot of Muslims are on these social medias, including myself. I've said it before, and since this gives us the opportunity to comment once again, since the reminder benefits the believers, we'll take advantage of this opportunity to just warn our sisters to be careful about what you're posting, because you're not even being paid to post this stuff. This ruling is about the fact that a person is being paid to do this. They're asking about being paid as a livelihood for this. But how about those of us who freely are posting on the Facebook, on the Instagram, all kinds of lewdness, and Muslim women posting pornography. A'udhu billah. Muslim women identified as Muslim women, scarves, outer garments, posting pornography on their pages. If you are posting men and women kissing on your page, this is disgusting. You should not be posting anything of such sort at all. Not to mention pictures that might imply that these people might even be naked in a compromising position. Sisters, be careful of what you are posting, because he said, whoever calls to misguidance shall bear that sin, as well as the sin of the one who follows his call, without the burden of either of them being lessened. Be careful what you're posting. And as has been mentioned before, we've seen, sisters, how many people, women and men, dying instantly. We don't know where we're going to go. Facebook page still up with all kinds of stuff posted over it. That stuff is lingering even after the person is gone, still acquiring and accumulating sin while the person is already gone to their grave. Be careful. Be careful what you are posting, that it does not come back to haunt you on Yawm al-Qiyamah. We ask Allah to guide us first and to protect us from such an evil affair. So now this question is somewhat related. This is the ruling concerning reading such deviant magazines. So the standing committee was asked, what is the ruling concerning the women who look at such magazines, meaning the deviant magazines? So then the ulama, or the scholars of the standing committee, they responded by saying, it is forbidden for every adult and sane person, man or woman, to read the books of innovation and misguidance, as well as the magazines that spread deviation, have false propaganda and claims, call others to deviance and depraved characters. The only exception is if the person is reading them to refute what is contained of godlessness and deviance. We advise their husbands and fathers to guide them and to repel what they are doing and to warn the people from their evil. So this again was answered by the standing committee regarding reading the books of deviancy. I want to make a quick comment here regarding the interpretation of the quote-unquote Holy Quran, which was interpreted by, I think it's Ismaa'eel, as opposed to reading the interpretation called the Noble Quran, which again is still just an interpretation. So can we say it's absolutely haram to read the Holy Quran? Allah knows best. If you only have a Holy Quran in your possession and you are trying to do the best you can, like a lot of sisters are in prisons and so forth, and this may be all that they have there to read. So we do want to caution about reading this interpretation of Ismaa'eel. We want to caution you about that because he did have some aqidah issues that are showing up in his interpretation. So it is far better and it's far safer to read the interpretation by Sheikh Muhsin Khan and the interpretation of the Noble Quran, which again is just an interpretation. This is the one we call the Noble Quran. Now, of course, I'm speaking about these two books that are interpreted into English. However, what is far better for us, sisters? Far better for us is to learn the Arabic language, get in an Arabic class, go somewhere, go to the circle of knowledge, and begin with the very basics of Lughah Arabiya, so that you can begin to understand for yourself from the Arabic language, so you're not dependent upon reading from either. So you're not dependent upon reading from either of them. So, again, back to the core issue, and that is reading from the books of the deviants. Be careful of reading from the books of the deviants. But I also caution you to be careful of boycotting books that some people are calling you to boycott because they feel that a certain person is a deviant. Unless you have a statement from the ulama al-kabir, meaning our big scholars, a statement from Sheikh Ali Sheikh, or a statement from Sheikh Fawzan, and from all of our major scholars that we have today with us, or something from the past, from Bin Baz, Rahimullah, or from Sheikh Uthaymeen, or from Sheikh Albani, Sheikh Mukbil, from these major scholars. Unless we have a statement from the major scholars, you have no business boycotting anyone. You have no place to boycott anybody unless you have a statement from the ulama that are saying Fulan wa Fulan is being refuted and boycotted for this particular reason. You have them in writing, or you have a tape on that, again, from the Lejna, or from the Lejna, meaning the standing committee, or from our major scholars. Sisters, stop running around posting on Facebook list of people to be boycotted, and if you don't have the evidence for this, don't feed yourselves into this matter. Stick with that which is safe and secure. You don't have to forward these things from these people. This is none of your affair. It's none of your business. Stick to obtaining beneficial knowledge. You learn for yourself the beneficial knowledge from the noble scholars, and then you will not have to be warned against this person, that person, because you will see the deviancy when you read it. You will see the deviancy. If you are studying Kitab al-Tawheed, if you are studying Aqidat al-Wasatiyah, if you are studying these great books, the Lafat al-Usul, if you are studying the basics, if you are studying these books, sisters, you will have the aqidah and the judgment to judge from these books, and you don't have to join these bandwagons to boycott whoever's being boycotted this year. You got people on your boycott list from 10 years ago. Do you know if they rectified or not? Do you even know the situation? So protect yourselves from this matter, because on Yom Al-Qiyamah, this is not a light matter. If you take a person's character from them, you assassinate their character because Shaitan wants you to keep you away from them, or perhaps a particular publication company wants you to boycott their books so you can buy their books. Maybe that's the case. Maybe the people are actually a publication company that publish their own books, and they don't want you to read the books of this other publication company or these other authors because they want you to read their books. You don't really know what's going on behind the scenes in the situation. So then my advice to our sisters, yes, stay away from the books of the deviants, but make sure that you are not character assassinating someone because somebody told you this, because you have enough knowledge to know for yourself. You are responsible to learn for yourself. You are responsible to sit in the circle of knowledge and study these books so that you can understand the issue. Blind following is very dangerous. So bottom line, stay away from the books of the deviants. Straightforward. But that book had to have been deemed as a book of deviancy from the scholars of the Kibar, from the major scholars of Islam. Not just because somebody told you not to read that book, or someone told you the author is a deviant or the translator is a deviant, because they got something personal going on between them. Because they got something personal going on between them. We don't even know half the time what the issues are going on between these people. So stay out of the fitna. It's not your affair. Learn your deen and you will be safe. And I ask Allah to protect us, our aqidah, and keep us firmly upon that which pleases Him, which is Tawheed. And not Tawheed that we just read it from a book and we mimic the statements and we go around here parroting statements, but Tawheed that is actually implemented in our lives. And certainly all success is with Allah. Now, we come here now to a situation that has been posed to Sheikh bin Baz. okay, regarding the Quran being the replacement. So the Sheikh was asked, what is your advice, dear Sheikh, for those people who go a month or many months without reading the Quran and who have no excuse whatsoever for that behavior? However, you will find some of them following closely and reading the magazines that they have no benefit. They have no benefit to them at all. So Sheikh bin Baz rahimahullah responded to this by saying, it is recommended for every believing man and woman to recite often the Book of Allah with thought and understanding. This may be done from a copy of the Quran or from one's memory. And then the Sheikh brings as an evidence from Surah Sad, verse 29. As it is stated, a kitab, or this book which we have sent down to you, full of blessings, that they may ponder over its verses, and that men of understanding may remember. And also from Surah Fatir, verses 29 and 30, as it is interpreted, verily those who recite the Book of Allah, Kitab Allah, and offer the prayer perfectly, and spend in the zakat out of what they have provided, what we have provided for them, secretly and openly, hope for a sure trade gain that will never perish, that he may pay them their wages in full and give them even more out of his grace. Verily he is all forgiving, most ready to appreciate, meaning good deeds. The Sheikh wanted to explain the aforementioned reciting of the Quran includes both its recitation and its following. The recitation is with both reflection and understanding. Sincerity to Allah is a means of following and executing the Quran. It contains a great reward. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, recite the Quran, for it shall come on the day of resurrection as an intercessor for its companion. And this is recorded by Imam Muslim in his Sahih. He said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also said, the best of you is he who learns the Quran and teaches it. And this is recorded by Imam al-Bukhari in his Sahih. And then another hadith states, whoever reads one harf, we have here word, and this is incorrect because a harf is a letter. Whoever reads one harf of the Quran, one letter of the Quran, shall receive a good deed and two good deeds similar to it. And then he said, I do not say that alif lam mim is a harf, but alif is a harf, lam is a harf, and mim is a harf. Now, if you are reading from a translation that is saying word, as I find here, the correct translation is that harf is a letter, which is why the Prophet ﷺ distinguished alif being a letter, lam being a letter, and mim being a letter. Each is a harf. So then the Prophet ﷺ went on to say, or told Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, read the Quran once a month. He said, I am able to do more than that. He told him, then read it once in 7 days. The companions of the Prophet ﷺ used to recite the entire Quran once every 7 days. And then the Sheikh said, I advise all of the readers of the Quran to increase their readings with reflection and understanding, as well as sincerity to Allah, with the goal of benefiting from and learning the Quran. They should read the entire Quran once a month. If they are able to do so without difficulty, they should do it in less than that time. That is a very great good deed. One may even finish the entire reading in less than 7 days. However, it is best not to recite the entire Quran in less than 3 days. This is the least amount of time that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned to Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As. This is because if it is read in less than 3 days, the person becomes hasty and lacks thought and concentration. It is not allowed to read it from a mushaf, meaning a physical copy of the Quran, unless one is in a state of purity. However, if one may still read it from his memory, even though he is not in a state of ablution. As for the sexually defiled person, he should neither read it from a copy of the Quran nor from his memory until he makes ghusl. This is based on what Imam Ahmed and the compilers of the Sunnah recorded with a good chain from Ali, who said that nothing kept the Prophet ﷺ from the Quran except being in a state of sexual defilement. And making this clear for our younger sisters, sexual defilement meaning that he has had you have had marital relations with your husband. If you have had marital relations with your husband, then you are obligated to perform your ghusl before you recite the Quran, before you read it, before any of it, before having anything to do with anything but the Quran at all. You must perform the ghusl, and that is the ritual bathing to relieve this sexual defilement. So this is something for us to pay close attention to, sisters, in terms of reading the Quran. And naturally, if we are reading the Quran, sisters, we are able to better to decipher again what's going on in our lives. This is where the Tawheed started from. Tawheed started from the Quran itself. And then the scholars took these concepts from the Quran and explained them better for us in books. But Tawheed is found in the Quran, so it behooves us to be reading it constantly so that we are absorbing it into ourselves, into our very souls, and into our lives. Now we look at the ruling concerning listening to radio programs that contain music. So Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah, was asked, what is the ruling concerning listening to radio programs that contain music, such as news programs? The Sheikh responded by saying, there is no harm in listening to them and benefiting from them as long as one turns down the volume from the time the music commences until it finishes. This is because it is from the aspects of useless speech that Allah has commanded Muslims to avoid and remain away from its evil. So he said, one more time, turn down the music. If you're going to listen to the news program, when the intro comes in on and we hear this music gearing up, turn it down, turn it off until that section is over and the segment is over, and then you can benefit by listening to the news. So one more time, sisters, if you're making flipgrams and all such things, honoring your dead relatives with these sad songs and all this kind of thing, and then you're posting this stuff on the Facebook or the Snapchat or the whatever, or the Instagram, and then you're a Muslim sister, you got Muslim sisters on your list, you're inviting them to listen to this music that you have posted, sister, this is a very dangerous affair. Even if you are posting it for non-Muslims to listen to. You're posting music with these pictures, with this flipgram going on, and when those who don't know what I'm talking about, this is where they take the pictures of their loved ones and they combine so many pictures into a little short film, and then behind it is a favorite song that the person may have loved themselves or they themselves love, and then you listen to this music while you're watching these photos. So all of that's haram from the beginning to the end. The photographs and then the music on top of it makes it that much more haram. The ruling concerning singing and watching programs. So Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah, was also asked, what is the ruling concerning listening to singing and music? What about watching television programs in which women appear displaying their adornments? The Sheikh responded very adequately by saying, the ruling concerning that is that it is forbidden. It keeps the person from the way of Allah. It sickens the heart and may lead the person to be involved in other lewd and sexual acts that Allah has forbidden. Allah has stated in Surah Luqman, verses 6 and 7, and of mankind, as is interpreted, and of mankind is he who purchases idle talk, meaning music or singing, to mislead men from the path of Allah without knowledge, and takes it, meaning the path of Allah, by way of mockery. For such there will be a humiliating torment. And when our verses are recited to such a one, he turns away in pride, as if he did not hear them, as if there were deafness in his ear. So announce to him a painful torment. The Shaykh concluded by saying, in these two noble verses is evidence that listening to musical instruments and singing is a cause for straying and misguiding, as well as taking the verses of Allah as mockery and arrogantly refusing to listen to the verses of Allah. So one more time, you're being told here, music is dangerous. It's very dangerous to the soul. It breeds hypocrisy. And how often do our children know all of the words to this movie Frozen, which I don't understand why Muslim women will allow their children to watch this mess to begin with. However, little girls are running around singing every word to this song from this movie Frozen, but can barely recite Al-Fatiha, much less Ikhlas, Falaq, or Nas. And you're like 7 and 8 and 9 years old, 10 years old, and you don't know and they don't know Juz Amma. Come on, moms, let's pull it together. Let's get this together. Muslim children should be reciting Quran first and foremost. This is the bottom line. Our children should not be running around here doing the nay or whatever the latest dance is. Muslim children, as soon as the music comes on, they're popping. But when it comes to reciting Quran, you can barely even, as a Quran instructor, teaching small children, I encounter this every year. When children come and they barely want to even recite the Quran. But if you turn on a Frozen or whatever the latest movie is, they can recite the entire song verbatim. They can recite the entire song verbatim. But if we go over the verses that we are memorizing, they barely even want to hear it. And this is a real experience, sisters. They barely even want to hear it. They can't even tolerate to hear the Quran. Be careful of what we are doing to our children. Music breeds hypocrisy, sisters. So be careful, because your children are paying far more attention to what you do than what you say. So then we come to the question here that was posed to Sheikh bin Baz. They say that I'm a troublemaker. So the Sheikh was asked, I'm a young woman who lives in the dormitory with the other female students. Allah has guided me to the truth, and I'm sticking to my religion. And all praise are due to Allah. However, what I see around me from my fellow students disturbs me very much. I see them committing sins and evil, like listening to music, backbiting, tail spreading. I have advised them often, but some of them ridicule me and some insult me. They say that I am just causing trouble. Dear Sheikh, I hope you will help me. What shall I do? May Allah reward you. Sheikh bin Baz Rahimullah responded to our sister by saying, it is obligatory upon you to repel evil to the best of your ability. Sisters, please listen to what the Sheikh is saying. Listen to this very carefully so that you can know where you stand on this matter. It is obligatory upon you to repel evil to the best of your ability with good words, kindness, and a good approach. You should use the verses of the Quran and narrate hadith according to your level of knowledge. You should not join them in listening to songs nor other forbidden words or actions. Separate yourself from them as much as possible until they engage in some other activity. This is what Allah has stated, as it is found in Surah Al-An'am, verse 68, interpreted, when you see those engaged in false conversation about our verses by mocking at them, stay away from them until they turn to another topic. Allahu Akbar. The Shaykh went on to say, when you rebuke them with your speech according to the best of your ability and remain away from what they have done, then their deeds will not harm you in the least, nor will their disapproval of you. Allah has stated in Al-Ma'idah, verse 105, O you who believe, take care of your own selves. If you follow the right guidance, no hurt can come to you from those who are in error. The return of you all is to Allah. Then He will inform you about all of that which you used to do. The Shaykh went on to explain, Allah has made it clear that a believer is not harmed by those who stray as long as he sticks to the truth and remains steadfast upon guidance. This is done by eradicating evil and remaining firm upon the truth, along with calling others to that path in a good way. Allah will then make for the person an escape and refuge. Allah willing, Allah will benefit them by your guidance if you are patient and hope for reward from Allah. Have the glad tidings of a great deal of good and a praiseworthy end as long as you stick to the truth and reject what opposes it. As Allah has said, and the good end is for the God-fearing. And Allah also says in Al-Ankabut 69, and for those, and in the interpretation, as for those who strive hard in our cause, we will surely guide them to our path, and verily Allah is with the good doers. Then Shaykh concluded by saying, may Allah grace you with what is pleasing to Him and grant you patience and steadfastness. May Allah bless your sisters, families, and companions with that which is beloved and pleasing to Him. He hears and is close. He is the guide to the straight path. Allahu Akbar. A short comment, sisters, and that is, stick firm upon the truth. The Sheikh said it. Stick firm upon the truth, regardless of how they mock you, regardless of the names they call you, regardless of the haters. You stick firm with the truth, because they are only hating on you because you are calling to the truth. And the only reason they have a problem with you is because you're calling to the truth. So you come into a gathering and you are responsible to remind the sisters, but they have a problem with the reminding, then remove yourself from that group of sisters. Because you are responsible to remind, for the reminder benefits the believers. And if we do not remind, then we are taking on the sin ourselves. Remove yourself from the situation altogether if these people refuse to be reminded. He said, when you see those, again this is from Surah Al-An'am, when you see those engaged in a false conversation about our verses by mocking at them, stay away from them until they turn to another topic. So if you're standing firm upon this deen and yet they want to make a mockery of you and belittle you because you're standing on the truth, the haqq, sisters, beware and save yourself and just remove yourself from such people. Allah will bring you better companions, and after all, it is better to die with no companions, because it is well known that the more you stick to the truth, as the Salaf has said, then the more you call to that truth, the less friends you will have. And honestly speaking, the better off you are, because the more friends that you have, especially these kind of individuals, you are bringing nothing but confusion and fitna into your life. These kinds of people keep fitna going. They are constantly making trouble for themselves, and you don't want to get caught up in their misery. Just steer yourself clear. This life is very short, sisters. We don't know when we're going out of here. We came here to die. That should be our focus. We came here to earn paradise. That should be our objective. So again, sisters, we're winding down the end of this book, Fataawaa al-Mar'a. As we conclude this book, we will then go into our program for preparing for Ramadan, bi-idhnillah. So we're very excited about that as well. I want to say that anything I've said in this particular program, if it was a mistake, then it is certainly for myself and Shaitan. I ask Allah to forgive me for that. And if you have found anything that's objectionable to you and you have sound evidence for that, please present it to me. If I've said anything at any point and you have evidence that I have said this, please bring it to my attention and allow me to clarify it. And if in fact you have a statement from the shuyukh, from the scholars, that refute anything that I have said, I absolutely want to see it, and I beg you to present it to me. And with that stated, we ask Allah to reward us for continuing to do what we do, struggling in the cause of disseminating authentic knowledge, beneficial knowledge to our sisters. I ask Allah to reward our administration at Islam Life Radio, and for all of those who are assisting them. And if you are able to support them in any way, I ask you by the face of Allah to do so and support the effort. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la إله أنت إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Exalted are you, O Allah, and all praises for you. I bear witness that there is no God except you. I ask your forgiveness and I repent to you. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.